favor, drop in the comments if you're watching this broadcast live. I am trying to get this to be straight. I'm sorry. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, let me know where you're coming in from. I always love to know how long you have been tuning in to No Guts, No Story. It's been a long time of me doing these Saturday morning broadcasts, but I love it. And this week especially was so busy. I was like, I have no idea. 20 minutes ago, I was on with my daughter, Callie, and I was like, she has no power this morning. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, I got to get ready for No Guts, No Story. And we've got grandbabies here. How many of you are so busy in the hustle bustle of Christmas? Maybe you haven't had a lot of time to really get everything done and prepared. So this morning I was like, what is the best topic? And I think in my StreamYard, which is on all my Facebook platforms, I even put in the topic, like, how do we finish the year with it being your best year? And that was about 15 minutes ago. But then my husband said, I think you should tell the story of Rudolph and how he was an outcast and everyone laughed at him and made fun of him and called him names. And normally when I wake up, I spend my time preparing, reading, praying, journaling. How do you guys start the day? Because how you start the day is usually how you end the day. If it's chaotic, it's usually chaotic. But if you start the morning, I always get up like 4:30 or 5 when everyone else is sleeping. I love when it's quiet. This week was a little different. So 15 minutes ago, me being the let's get the energy right, inspiration right, I'm going to put on a YouTube, right? I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to put on something so my frequency is like top notch. I went and I mixed my drink, got my medallion on, ready for Saturday morning. We're going to crush it. Giving away thousands of dollars on my next call for our company. And I went and Googled the motivation of the Rudolph story. Now, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. This is a pop quiz. How many of you actually know the story of Rudolph? Like, who wrote it, why it became so big? This is insane. I'm mind blown right now. My husband Dave's a genius, though. I should have known. It really did inspire me because even growing up as a little girl, so like when we would go to my grandma Mills's house, everyone was a Baptist and everyone was a good little girl, right? And I was with grandma every single day. I practically lived there, grandma and grandpa, because my mom and dad were workaholics. And when I was little, like there wasn't an older sibling for me. So I would go to grandma's when they were busy. But then I kind of became the mom and the grandma as I got older. And I feel like I was always a little more mature than my age. I had to be. But my grandma passed away when I was 12. But until I was 12, when everyone else would come home at Christmas, true story, like I painted my fingernails red and everyone else would be like, she painted her fingernails red. My jeans were tight and it was like, her jeans are a little tight, right? I even remember one time my cousin from Liberal, Melissa, went riding around with me and we were in the car with some boys and they literally like followed us and chased us down because we were doing things we shouldn't be doing, right? Probably shouldn't have been at that age, but I had older uncles and I was always kind of like the little black sheep. And I read a thing the other day that said the black sheep of the family always becomes the goat because your story is where you get your conditioning. Now, I don't know if that's always true, but I like the quote. So I was kind of going that direction this morning for No Guts, No Story. I was like, don't take a label in the fact that you were the black sheep because now I can get around my cousins and be like, look at me now, right? Some of you are still in your black sheep label chapter, but you're coming up. Just know you're coming up. I keep telling everyone that the new year's coming and you're coming up. So back to the Rudolph. Back to the Rudolph story. Dave's like, he was an outcast. Everybody made fun of him. And then he literally saved the day. So I went and I Googled it. And 5 minutes ago, I'm sitting in my office crying, trying to understand this video of this guy with an accent. The YouTube video is called Rudolph the Reindeer, a powerful motivational Christmas story. So I don't think any of you really know how Rudolph the reindeer became such a famous thing. So bear with me here a minute. Years and years ago, oh my gosh, there's a kid coming. Did you find Nana Cindy's Rudolph? Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, bring it in here, Lo. You want to say hi? Okay, this is Lola. Nana Cindy always had this on her rocking chair. Do you remember when it would sit on her rocking chair and her little carousel and everything? No. You don't? Well, you were little. Anyway, this is Rudolph. Rudolph is pretty famous, right? Do you know the story about Rudolph? You don't? Okay, so Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer got made fun of. Everyone laughed at him all the time. They didn't let him play the reindeer games because he was an outcast and he looked funny and he was the only one with a red nose. Oh, we got another little helper coming in here. But let me tell you guys the real story about Rudolph. So Rudolph was a made-up story because a guy named Robert May, who was 32 years old, he had a little 4-year-old girl. Imagine that it's Christmas. And his 4-year-old daughter's name was Barbara. This is a real story. They lived in Chicago. And Robert May didn't have any money to buy any presents for the kids. His wife was bedridden, dying of cancer, and had been a shut-in in bad shape for 2 years. He was 32 years old. He was deep, deep in debt. You want to hold reindeer? Want to hold the reindeer? That's Nana Cindy's reindeer. Yeah, it's been around since Dave was a little boy. I remember Brooklyn playing with this when she was a newborn. So the dad, Robert May, was reflecting on his life, and he was very, very depressed. He was sad, and the little girl came to him. This is a heartbreaking story. The little girl came to her daddy and said, "Why can't my mommy be like all the other mommies?" And the mommy was really sick. And that night, Robert May put the little girl to bed, and he went, "Oh, is that your dada?" And he went into his room as a very deep in debt, broke copywriter. His daddy wiping your nose. Say, "Hey, I didn't have to be camera ready." And he sat down at his typewriter to write a story about a fictitious reindeer. So reindeer, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen, they were all beautiful reindeer. And they were big and they were strong. And in North America and in the Arctic, like they pulled sleds and they pulled things. So there was this really deep fog in his story. And Robert May wanted to be successful. He was deep in debt. Like I said, 32 years old. Wife had cancer, bedridden. 4-year-old daughter says, "Why can't my mommy be like all the other little girls' mommies?" And he sits up to write. And he's a copywriter, but he's not successful. It says that he reflected on his childhood. He was always very weak and very small. Feeble, it says. He wasn't successful as a child, and now as an adult, how does he make a life for his little 4-year-old daughter? So he sits down and he writes the story of Rudolph. And the story of Rudolph is that Rudolph was an outcast, much like Robert May. He was weak. He wasn't big like the other reindeer. He wasn't strong. He wasn't beautiful. If you look at the pictures in the book, the way that he wrote this story, he was reflecting on his own life. But on Christmas Eve, a very deep fog set in, and the fictitious Rudolph was going to take Santa and lead the sleigh. Oh my goodness. Did you push it? This might be the best No Gus No story we've ever had, right? Is this the best? Oh, that's a different song. I didn't know it plays other songs. She loves it. So in the story, Robert May creates the outcome that the one that got made fun of, the one that was the outcast, the one that was small and weak, saves the day. And I thought that was so inspiring, because how many of us are sitting up on Christmas or Christmas Eve wishing that our life was more like someone else, wishing that we could do more for our kids, wishing that we could do more for our grandkids, or maybe even for our own family and our spouse. You want to go see Dada? You want to go see Dada? Go see Daddy. You're such a pretty girl. Oh my goodness. So, Lola, is there any kids at your school that get made fun of? No? Dad's laughing. He's like, don't know what Lola's going to say. Kids don't get made fun of. There's no bullies. Good. Because bullies are not good, are they? Do you ever wish that you're like other kids? No? You're confident? Yeah, that's good. Well, there are a lot of little kids that will compare themselves to others and say, I wish I had what she had, or I wish I had what he had, or I wish, my mom or dad could be a certain way. And I think I was guilty of that as a child. How do we turn this off? It's going to keep playing. Take the batteries out. We're going to set Rudolph down there for a minute. So my question to all of you is, if you're comparing yourself to others and you think about the story of Robert May, this guy became a wildly successful, world-renowned, famous, not just for 1 year of a book launch. How many of you read a great book like 2 years ago, but it's not a bestseller today? I mean, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has probably reached more people than any other Christmas story, unless it was Frosty the Snowman, or maybe the story of baby Jesus being born, because it's in every Bible, right? I was so inspired by this because Robert May didn't give up. It was Christmas. He looked at his little 4-year-old girl who said, why can't my mommy be like everyone else's mommy? And he said, I can't control that. She is sick. I'm praying for a miracle. I don't have any money. I want to make Christmas special for my little girl, so I'm going to write her a book. And he gave her a book that was a gift based on his story. And this brings me to the takeaway for all of you. Every single one of us has a story. And it is my belief that sometimes the black sheep becomes the goat, because if God allows you to go through something, he's going to use that. He's going to use that. My favorite verse, I repeat it all the time, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to not to harm you, but to prosper you and to give you hope for a future. And when we talk about that, we were talking about that last night in the car, weren't we? I said, that's my favorite verse, because every time my back's against the wall, or we were reflecting, Chance and I were both like, 2017 was like the worst year ever of our life until 2023, right? Like, you don't know until you don't know. And looking back on your life, you will think, how did I even get through that? And today you can look back and you can reflect on it, and maybe you can even laugh about it and see the lessons that you learned and whatever. But at the time, it's so easy to become depressed, to just want to isolate, to feel like there's no hope, to feel like, how did I even get to this point that this is my life? How many of you have had chapters like that where you're like, I don't even know how this is my life? How in the world did this ever become my life? And the reality is, if God can get you to it, he can take you through it. And I really don't know any other way. I really don't know any other way. Everyone has their own beliefs, but I think about how God blessed Robert May with a gift. And even though he compared himself to everyone else and said he was always small as a child, he was always weak, he was always an outcast, he was never successful, his family didn't have what everyone else had, he stayed true to himself. And every single one of you has a gift inside of you. And I really believe that story is your superpower. I was looking this week at one of the top leaders in our company. One of my favorite people. Her name is Jess. I love them all. Jess has quite a story. When I met her, she had over 1 million in sales and she was having heart challenges. She was a top leader in a wine company. And she said, it's just not congruent with my vision and who I am. Like, how could I even get to this point? Millions of dollars in sales, wildly successful, struggling with her health, wanting to make a shift to get healthier. And to stay in alignment and walk in your truth and make that shift, sometimes you have to go through the valleys. Sometimes you have to go through, we call it when you're in the deep. When you're in the deep and you're like, God, I need a miracle right now. Robert May must have been really in the deep that night when he went to his typewriter to write a story. And that to be the only gift that he had for his little girl. No money. Mom is dying of cancer. It's Christmas. And this little girl is comparing herself to every little other girl. Must have been in preschool. How does that comparison happen when you're 4, right? But this is what happened. God blessed him 10 times for all the things he thought that he didn't have. And that is my hope for every single one of you. That night in the story, when it was foggy and Santa wasn't going to be able to deliver gifts to all the kids because the reindeer couldn't fly. They couldn't fly through the dense fog. They couldn't see where they were going. The one reindeer that they all made fun of, the one reindeer that was the absolute outcast, the reindeer who felt stupid and embarrassed and compared himself to all the strong ones, the successful ones, the leaders, all 8 of them. He was just the outcast, didn't get included, got talked bad about, got made fun of, didn't get recognized, didn't get the promotion, didn't feel like he could walk in the room and say, I am enough, right? He was feeble. He was small. He was the outcast, embarrassment. But that night, he saved the day. See, Rudolph had a gift that no one else had. And nobody realized how valuable he was to the team until that red nose lit up and guided the entire sleigh that night and saved the Santa problem on Christmas Eve. Now, we can all say, like, is Rudolph real or is Barb telling us some crazy story? I like to believe it. I like to believe the magic of Christmas. And last week I talked about how our family used to do all the Santa deliveries for our county. And it was so fun. I mean, my dad brought so much magic to so many families and had such an incredible gift and led the end of the parade every year. And all of us would dress up like elves. And the other night we were driving around looking at lights. And last night I wanted to go look at lights too. Do you get tired of me wanting to go look at Christmas lights? Yes. I love Christmas. I always have loved Christmas, but it's not the same when you don't have little kids. I love the magic of Christmas, the spirit of a child, the imagination, the way that they look forward to it, the way that they want to wrap up something. Lola went and shopped for me and bought me the coolest ornament. It's hanging right in the middle. Did you see it in the living room on my tree? It's right in the middle of my tree. So she went and took her money to a little shop at school, and she got everybody a very special gift. Not about what Lola would get for Christmas, but what she could give to everyone else. And she shopped for mommy and daddy and her Aunt Brookie and Aunt Callie and for Dave and for me. And she hand wrapped them with a little note. And we asked, why did you pick this gift for us? And, you know, she had something to say about every single one she picked. The school actually sent a note. Ask the child why they chose this for you and make that memory. It can be a $1 gift, but it can be more valuable than anything else because of the spirit of Christmas. And it is about giving. It is about the story of Christmas to me. I think it gets so stressful and people think It has to be so much more than it actually is. This week, we made Christmas cookies and we decorated them and we talked about everything that we miss. And I will tell you something, not for 1 minute have I sat and thought about a gift that I got that made Christmas the best ever. It was always about the people that were there. It was always about the memories that we made. It was always about the handwritten letter. And I wish I could tell you something that's happening this Christmas, but I'll tell that story next week. But it really is about the handwritten notes and the memories that are passed down and the photos that you take and the quality time that you have with the people that you love. I have not had all 3 kids home for Christmas for, I think, 4 years, 3 years. They weren't home that Christmas. They were home on Thanksgiving for Nana's funeral, and then Callie was back in Germany. But so it's been 4 years since all 3 kids were here at Christmas. But Christmas Eve, we're all going to be together. And thinking about the story of Rudolph and Robert May and all of the Christmases where maybe Dave and I were not having our best year, and maybe we were comparing ourselves to other people, how far along they were. How did we make this decision? How did we end up in this situation? Someone dying of cancer, a child struggling, all the different chapters. The Rudolph story is inspiring because how many of you could compare yourself to Robert May and think, what if you could have a sudden shift where you took your story and your gifts and maybe you sat down to share that? Maybe a handwritten note, maybe a manuscript, maybe you have a book inside of you. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a design, maybe it's a business idea, maybe it's just a family event that you plan. But every single one of you has something that no one else has, just like Rudolph. So my story for you today is short and it's sweet and it's to the point. I had no idea the story of the author of one of the best-selling Christmas books ever, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, actually wrote that story for his 4-year-old daughter because it was the only thing he had to give her on Christmas. And I hope that you are inspired that just like Rudolph, who lit up the entire sky that night and saved the day, every single one of you has something like that inside of you. And watching Jess, my friend Jess this week, she had compared herself to other people. She had looked at where she had come from and where she should be. Did she make the right decision? Was she going to be successful? And then she stepped into her truth and she started sharing her story of being sober. And that's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to be authentic and to share your true self. But I noticed all of a sudden there was more people commenting, there was more people following, there was more engagement. All of a sudden, I saw Jess and her team start to explode because Jess has her own gift that nobody else has and her own story that's going to make impact and inspire so many other people who will listen, relate, and follow. There's Callie. She says, hi, Lola. Say hi, Callie. And I think every single one of us, there we got a smile out of her. You love Callie, huh? She's coming in 2 days. Then what happened was Jess stepped into her own story and she attracted the success that she deserved. Every single one of you deserves wild success. Sometimes we're afraid to step. Are you leaving me? You taking Rudolph? I'll keep him. Sometimes we're afraid. Thank you, Lola, for finding him. I literally sent her to the attic to find Nana Cindy's Rudolph right when it was 9:01. But the story of Rudolph is just so inspiring that I wanted to share it with all of you. So my assignment to you is no matter what everyone else has or what everyone else is doing or what everyone else might have accomplished and you're comparing yourself, no matter whether you have someone that's bedridden, hospice, sick, whether you have tremendous debt like Robert May had, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. That's why I love the Jeremiah 29:11 verse. But the Rudolph story is much more than a reindeer with a red nose. It's Robert May with a wife that's dying, with a little 4-year-old that says, why can't my mommy be like all the other moms at Christmas? So he sits down, makes up this fictitious reindeer that gets made fun of, that has nothing, that is weak and small and the outcast, that's an embarrassment, who literally saves the day. That might be my new favorite story. In fact, I'm pretty excited to go watch the movie Rudolph with my grandkids, because knowing about the author and where the inspiration came from, who doesn't love to see the underdog win? So I hope you guys are as inspired as I am. Oh, that's not the Rudolph story. It plays all different. Nana has had this since Dave was a little boy. So we just put it out every year. Oh, it plays all the songs. Hark the Herald Angels. We got them all. So cool. I can't even get to Rudolph. Anyway, we wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you guys are inspired by Rudolph, and I hope that you will go sit down with your journal and say, what if you are somebody? What if you could have a come up like Robert May did? What if the very thing that you're embarrassed about is the very thing that could make you wildly successful, rich beyond your wildest dreams, a business idea, a success story, a book that's written, a movie? Why not you? And why not now? Why not you? And why not now? Because if Robert May could do it at a time like that, surely me and you could. And I think about even our story. 4 Christmases ago was so bad. 3 Christmases ago was bad. 2 Christmases ago, we were coming out of that. And today, I literally see the inspiration from Robert May, because a story that was so sad and so scary and so bad turned into a movement that has created a ripple effect all over the world. So from me to you, Merry Christmas. I know some of you are probably excited about all the things that are happening this week. And some of you are probably wishing that your situation was different. But just keep in mind, it's only a chapter. It's not your whole lifetime. It's only a chapter. It's not your whole lifetime. And just like Robert May, just like Rudolph, every single one of you has a gift inside of you that could absolutely save the day. You just have to step into your authenticity, and you can't keep pushing it down and feeling like the outcast, the failure, the weak, the shy, the unsuccessful, the one who never quite made it to be the top 8. The outcast, the black sheep, usually ends up being the goat. And I hope that inspires you. Have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys next Saturday on No Guts, No Sorry. If you got something out of this, please share this video. That's all I'm asking you. Save it, share it, comment, tag a friend. I don't even have my Facebook monetized. I should, because of all the views. I don't know how to do that. But what I want you to do is share the story so that it lands on the ears of the right person, and they might be inspired to not just go isolate, be depressed, be sad, be mad. Maybe they could get a little inspiration from the story. And honestly, it's my belief the only reason why we're even here on this planet is to serve others and to witness. So I'm going to keep doing it every week. I'm going to witness, I'm going to serve, I'm going to love, I'm going to share. And I hope that you will hit the share button so other people can be as inspired as you were today. Have a Merry Christmas.